The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony hummed with the quiet efficiency of a dozen species going about their diplomatic duties. Orla stood before the panoramic viewport, her slender frame silhouetted against the star-scattered darkness. Her skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, a trait of her luminari people, pulsing gentle blues and greens as she reviewed the datapad in her four-fingered hands. "Another human myth," she muttered. Scrolling through the file, her colleague of Rex named Kethlon chittered beside her. "You find their stories amusing?" he asked, his compound eyes reflecting the starlight. "Amusing and absurd," Orla replied, her voice carrying the melodic quality of her species. "They claim their warriors are unstoppable, that humans possess some supernatural combat prowess. It's propaganda, nothing more. We've seen their physiology, their weak, soft skin, slow to heal. They lack natural armor, venom, or even basic defensive capabilities." Kethlon's mandibles clicked in agreement. "The Galactic Council admits them out of pity, I suspect. Their technology is adequate, but their biology? Laughable for a warrior species." Orla had spent 3 cycles studying human culture as part of the Diplomatic Corps' integration program. She'd read their histories, tales of Spartans, Vikings, samurai, and soldiers, each story more fantastical than the last. Surely species with actual combat evolution, like the 8-foot Kral with their chitinous plates, or the Thorian predators with retractable claws, were the true warriors of the galaxy. The humans were simply ordinary. "Attention all personnel," the ship's AI announced, its voice cutting through the ambient noise. "Hostile vessel detected. Pirate designation Razorclaw Clan, all security to battle stations. Diplomatic staff to emergency shelters." Orla's bioluminescence flared red with alarm. The Razorclaw Clan, Kral pirates known for their brutality. The Celestial Harmony was a diplomatic vessel, lightly armed, never meant for real combat. As crew members scrambled toward the shelters, Orla saw him. Lewis, the human security officer, stood calmly near the armory entrance, checking his weapon, a primitive kinetic firearm the humans called a rifle. He was unremarkable by galactic standards, average height, lean build, no visible natural weapons. His dark hair was cropped short and his brown eyes held a disturbing calmness. "Shouldn't you be evacuating?" Orla asked, her patterns flickering orange with concern. Lewis looked up and smiled, a strange human expression that showed teeth. "Ma'am, I'm exactly where I need to be. You're one human against Kral pirates." "This is suicide." "Maybe," Lewis said, loading his weapon with practiced ease. "But that's what we do best." Before Orla could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Hull breach alarm screamed. Through the corridor's transparent sections, she could see the pirate ship, a predatory vessel bristling with weapons, clamped onto their hull like a parasite. "Get to the shelter, ma'am. Now." Lewis's voice had changed. Gone was the casual friendliness. What remained was something cold, focused, and utterly terrifying in its intensity. Orla stumbled toward the shelter but found herself frozen at the entrance, unable to look away. The Kral came through the breach like a nightmare-given form. 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor plates, wielding plasma cutters and energy weapons. Their leader, a massive specimen named Thrax, roared a challenge that made the deck plates vibrate. Lewis stepped into their path. 1 human. 1 rifle. Against 12 Kral warriors, Orla expected to witness a massacre. She did, just not the one she anticipated. Lewis moved. He moved like nothing Orla had ever seen. Not with the raw speed of a Zephyrian windrunner or the strength of a Titan-class enforcer. He moved with something else entirely. Precision, efficiency, and a calculated lethality that defied his soft biology. The first 3 Kral fell before they registered the threat. Lewis's rifle barked, a primitive sound that somehow carried more menace than any energy weapon. Each shot found gaps in the Kral armor that should have been impossible to target in combat. Neck joints, eye slits, the soft tissue behind their knee plates. Thrax roared and charged, plasma cutter raised. Lewis didn't retreat. He sidestepped with minimal movement, letting the massive Kral's momentum carry him past. Then fired twice into the exposed back plating where the armor segments connected. What terrified Orla most wasn't the violence. It was Lewis's face. Calm. Focused. He wasn't angry or afraid. He was working with the same casual efficiency he'd shown checking his weapon moments before. A crawl flanked him. Lewis spun, using his rifle as a club, striking with the stock in a move that shattered the pirate's mandible. As the crawl stumbled, Lewis transitioned smoothly back to shooting, dropping 2 more attackers who'd tried to capitalize on his melee engagement. Impossible, Orla whispered, her entire body flashing white with shock. He's analyzing 12 opponents simultaneously, predicting their movements, exploiting microscopic vulnerabilities in real time. The Crowl, for the first time in their brutal history, hesitated. These were pirates who'd terrorized dozens of species, who relied on their natural physical advantages. They'd never encountered a species that weaponized its own weakness. Because that's what Lewis was doing, Orla realized with dawning horror. Humans had no natural armor, so they'd learned to never get hit. They had no venom, so they'd mastered tools. They weren't stronger or faster, so they'd become smarter, more adaptable, more ruthlessly efficient. Lewis reloaded, a 2-second vulnerability. 3 Crowl charged simultaneously, thinking they'd found an opening. Lewis drew a sidearm with his other hand and fired while still reloading, dropping 2. The third got within arm's reach. That was its final mistake. Lewis's combat training emerged in a flurry of strikes, joint locks, and redirection of force that used the Crowl's own mass against it. Within seconds, the pirate lay unconscious and Lewis had finished reloading. Thrax, the clan leader, stood alone among the bodies of his crew, dead or incapacitated. His armor was pitted with burns and punctures. He looked at Lewis with something Orla had never seen in a Krail's eyes. Fear. Withdraw, Thrax growled, or die with your ship. Lewis's smile returned, that predatory showing of teeth. You breached a diplomatic vessel. You threatened civilians under my protection. I don't accept surrender from pirates. What followed was brief and utterly one-sided. When security reinforcements finally arrived, they found Lewis calmly securing the Crowl in restraints. Not even breathing heavily, Orla approached on trembling legs, her bioluminescence cycling through colors she didn't recognize, emotions she couldn't name. The myths, she whispered. They weren't exaggerations. Lewis looked at her, and for a moment she saw something ancient in his eyes. The legacy of a species that had clawed its way from primitive savanna to the stars, that had survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and its own worst instincts. The myths? Lewis checked his rifle, safetying it with practiced hands. Ma'am, those were just the stories we tell so people sleep better. The truth is a lot scarier. He walked past her toward the medical bay, leaving Orla standing among the aftermath. She understood now. Humans weren't warriors despite their weakness. They were warriors because of it. Every disadvantage had become a crucible, forging something the galaxy had never seen. A species that turned frailty into strategy, vulnerability into strength, and survival into an art form. That night, Orla deleted her report on human mythology. Some truths, she decided, were more terrifying than any myth.